from cafes to streets. The Khalistani delusion that just won't die. Hello and welcome to tonight's headliner. We begin tonight not in a war zone, not even in a political hotbed, but at something far more innocent. Kapil Sharma's cafe in Canada. Yes, that Kapil Sharma, the man who makes us laugh, his cafe was recently shot at. Not robbed, not vandalized, shot at. By whom? A group that has no interest in jokes unless the punchline involves blood. A group that's been operating for decades under one delusion that Khalistan, a made-up separatist Sikh homeland, deserves to exist, even if thousands have to die for it. This isn't just some one-off incident. Just a few days ago, the FBI arrested 8 Khalistani extremists in the United States. Yes, America, the land of free, home of the radicals. Apparently, these men weren't planning a peaceful protests. They were planning weapon deals, funding pipelines, sleeper cells, and while the rest of us were busy living our lives, these guys were laying the groundwork for something bigger, something uglier. So who are these Khalistanis? And why are we still entertaining their fantasy? Let's start with the basics. The Khalistani movement isn't new. It's an old, violent, outdated fever, dream from like 1980s, a time when India was already reeling from internal division and conflict. Now, the word Khalistan stands for a so-called independent Sikh nation. It was carved out of Punjab. But of course, some versions of the fantasy also include Lahore. Because when you are drawing frictional borders, why stop at realism? This moment claims to represent Sikh interests, but make no mistake, the majority of Sikhs around the world do not support Khalistan. It's a fringe extremist ideology that has hijacked religion of peace. It has hijacked the religion of discipline and service. These people don't want equality. They don't want civil rights. They want chaos. They want blood. And most importantly, they want India broken into pieces. Now let's talk about what they have done recently. You think the cafe shooting was an isolated event. Think again. In 2023, pro-Khalistani mobs stormed Indian diplomatic missions in San Francisco and London. Not just protests, violent attacks. Indian flags were torn down and replaced with separatist banners. Indian diplomats had their faces printed on wanted posters across Canada. Yes, not ISIS, not drug lords, diplomats. Their crime? Representing a sovereign democratic country that refuses to surrender to terrorism. Social media has become their playground. Now, radical Khalistani pages openly call for violence. They glorify Jarnail Singh, the man who turned the Golden Temple, Sikhism's holiest shrine, into an armed fortress. In the 1980s, they recruit young, passionate minds living thousands of miles away from Punjab, kids who have never seen the Golden Temple but are convinced it needs to be liberated. And let's not forget, the violence in 1984, Operation Blue Star, was launched to flush out this person and his militants from the Golden Temple. The decision was controversial, however. The fallout devastating. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was assassinated by her own Sikh bodyguards in retaliation. This led to horrifying anti-Sikh riots, a black mark in India's history. But instead of healing the wound, Khalistanis turned it into an excuse to wage war on the country. In 1985, they bombed Air India Flight 182, killing 329 innocent people, most of them Canadian citizens. This remains one of the deadliest aviation terror attacks in the history, and yet, to this day, no global ban on Khalistanis. You see the hypocrisy? Cut to present, in 2024 and 2025, Indian journalists and community leaders abroad have received death threats. I repeat, death threats for merely opposing these people. Indian businesses in Canada, in the UK, have been targeted. Most recently, Kapil Sharma's café was shot at as a warning. A comedy cafe, guys, shot at by people who clearly can't take a joke or tolerate peace. And now, the FBI has arrested 8 individuals in the US, all linked to Khalistani funding and terror operations. They weren't just sending angry tweets, they were building terror infrastructure. Think about that. In the US, where terrorism has become the stuff of national nightmares, these men were allowed to operate under the radar for years, maybe for decades, we never know. So why are the Western governments still so blind? Because votes speak louder than bullets? In countries like Canada, UK, and even parts of the US, the Sikh diaspora holds political clout. But here's the problem. These politicians confuse Sikhs with Khalistanis. They go to gurudwaras, take selfies, and ignore the posters hanging behind them. They stay quiet when Indian diplomats are threatened. Let's be clear. Khalistanis do not represent Sikhs. They are a dangerous fringe radical group, many of whom wouldn't survive a week in the real Punjab. These real Sikhs are busy raising families, growing crops, winning Olympic medals, running businesses, and making India proud. But the Khalistanis want to hijack their identity just like ISIS tried to hijack Islam. And what is their plan exactly? Do they want to take over Punjab? With what? Hashtags and handguns. Punjab doesn't want Khalistan, never has, never will. The only people chanting Khalistan Zindabad are usually living comfortably in Canada, funded by foreign NGOs and tweeting revolution from their iPhones. This is not about Sikh rights. This is about anti-India hatred. This is not about protecting culture. It is about destroying unity. So what now? Thankfully, India is pushing back. Diplomatic pressure on Canada and the US is mounting. Agencies are tracking down these networks. Arrests are happening. And finally, the media is beginning to call them what they are. Terrorists and not activists. Not youth leaders, not concerned citizens. Just plain old garden variety weapon-carrying ideology in the community shaming terrorists. In conclusion, the next time you hear someone use the word Khalistan, do not imagine flags and freedom. Imagine Air India Flight 182. Imagine diplomats hiding behind barricades. Imagine cafes getting shot up. Imagine 8 people in American jails right now, planning how to make the world bleed. The world has turned a blind eye to Khalistani terror for too long. It is time to stop laughing at their delusion and start dismantling it. Thank you for watching tonight's Headliner. I am Krishna Patel. Stay alert, stay smart, and remember, every separatist movement leaves one thing: a graveyard. Thank you. Stay tuned.